here is what is going on. I was inspired by Tech Policy Press, the sheer prolific impact and interplay that they appear to have had with the internal government apparatus inside the Biden administration around censorship issues. And while Tech Policy Press really came to my attention in a serious way during the Brazil X affair in 2024, I hadn't really kept much of an eye on them outside of the Dean Jackson, Renee D. web there. But seeing just how closely the censorship tech policies of the Biden admin followed the editorial line and promoted draft legislation of Tech Policy Press tonight makes me want to investigate Tech Policy Press much more closely. And last stream, we went over how Tech Policy Press was pushing the child safety laws in order to get rid of the concentration of power. The very first thing, their key area of concern is concentration of power in the tech platform. Then they also don't want governments they don't like to have the power. They want civil society organizations like them and like media organizations like them to get more revenue and more power over speech.
He could have undermined the messaging so much that he can actually control exactly what people think. And that is
your job.
So this is very sneaky. The top thing that they're interested in is giving themselves, this is a CIA-linked media site promoting policies and laws and a shift in the power dynamics of the tech industry in order to accrue more power to their side. And the tech platforms are the bad guys in their equation, because when Elon has control over the algorithm, when Zuck has control over the algorithm, Google has control over their algorithms, that means they don't have that control. So stuff can get published there that they don't want to be able to be published. Stuff can get monetized that they don't want their political enemies to make any revenue. They want their stuff to go viral more. So they want only themselves to be able to get blue checks. They want only their type of posts to be the ones that are clockwork oranged into everybody's head. So this is a ruse. Concentration of power is just by identifying the problem as concentration of power. They don't give a flying fig about, they want concentration of power for themselves. They're complaining that they don't have enough power, but they're appealing to some universal principle to try to make the same argument they make around autocracy is why we're overthrowing this government. Not because we want to make money from the minerals deals or the oil and gas or the ports or the infrastructure projects or the climate finance that the new puppet is going to, okay? Economy, yeah, they want their allies to make the money. They're using this crowbar of, he who controls the ethics controls the underlying thing. Tony Fauci's wife was like the head of ethics at NIH, right? So whatever ethical fucked up shit Tony Fauci was doing, who was the head of ethics for the Obama White House? Norm Eisen. That's the trick. You always put the worst people in the world in charge of your ethics department. It's almost like, think of it like a prison. Like you put the worst people in the worst cell block. You take whoever the dumbest, craziest son of a bitch is in your division, and you make that person head of your ethics. Then the craziest, most dastardly shit will get approved. Yeah, Norm Eisen was the ethics czar. They also want to control all speech around elections. Disinformation's a big thing, right? A 501c3, I mean, they're like the evil version of me. Like I have a 501c3 nonprofit that does public interest journals. Basically like me and one other person who just helps do day to day. They have like a huge staff, board of directors, a fellowship program, and they're highly influential, funded by all of these CIA adjacent foundations. The Omidyar Network is like one of the biggest Rent-A-Riot funders alongside the Open Society Network. The Knight Foundation has given $135 million to disinformation grants. The MacArthur Foundation, the Ford Foundation, which actively worked with the CIA for at least 40 years, and I'm sure still does, but that's just the latest declassified thing. Reset Tech, another one of these. So I want to sweep this whole thing. I want to sweep the entire cast of characters for their blob connections tonight. And at some point during our next music break, I'm going to plug that into a deep research AI and just literally just take every single one of these names and have it run a Mike Benz style analysis for blob connections, which I find that AI this is actually one of the upsides of being a public figure is I'm now in the AI. Just like you can look at the world like Henry Kissinger does and write a report on this issue as if you were Henry. No, I'm no Kissinger. I just mean to say that it actually makes it useful in my own research that AI can actually competently, because I do this now for a lot of my searches. I just literally say, look at this as if you were me, and does a really good job. Probably better than I can. But we'll run that later in time just so we can get immediately into the core material. But so we went over a bunch of these before, but two articles actually caught my eye. I want to start with this article, and I'll put the link if anybody wants right here. Oh, shit. They're on Brazil. Fuck. Brazil's 2026 election, huh? Look, their very first post was end the algorithm. 1 month out of the 2020 election. These motherfuckers. Here is the first article I want to go over. This is from July 2023. Now, what's important to understand in context here is this was a really interesting moment and period in the history and evolution of the censorship industrial complex and in my own personal. And this is also just a funny thing where the Biden, those 1,000 employees that I told you about, were just learning my name at this time in this period. Funny story for another day. October 2022, Elon completed the acquisition and took control over X. In November 2022, the Republicans win the House of Representatives, and immediately Jim Jordan's committee begins a series of congressional hearings and subpoenas into the tech companies around their role in internet censorship. In December 2022, the Twitter files comes out and mass popularizes the public consciousness of an organized censorship industrial complex. In March 2023, the first public hearings go completely viral on all of this, as well as preliminary reports put out by Jim Jordan's committee. In April 2022, the disaster of the Disinformation Governance Board scandalized the disinformation field. But that scandal really, the Disinformation Governance Board got sort of another float of understanding, and angles of the scandal were more fully fleshed out after the Twitter files reveal literally 8 different congressional committees and subcommittees, 6 in the House, 2 in the Senate, that began to do hearings on the censorship industrial complex. Yet the Biden administration was still in power. The grant money was still flowing, but the first snowball of political blowback and media spotlight on this ecosystem of censorship professionals was in the room in July 2023. So that's sort of the setting for this, okay? TrustCon swag, okay? TrustCon. Let's look up a little bit on TrustCon. You know, there's so many of these cons, these conferences in the censorship space that I lose track in my power rankings of which are just absolutely terrible, which are terrible and horrifying, which are terrible, horrifying, and mortifying, and which are the worst of the worst. Like there's MisinfoCon, there's DEFCON and its misinformation village, there's TrustCon. Like there's so many conferences. To me, they're all Comic-Con, right? They're all this to me, but we'll just say TrustCon, okay? In September of last year, just before the inaugural TrustCon. Oh, interesting. Okay, so that was the inaugural TrustCon was September 2022, just weeks before Elon completed the acquisition of X. Interesting timing. Tech Policy Press Sunday show was entitled Trust and Safety Comes of Age. The following month, Elon acquired Twitter and proceeded to decimate its trust and safety operation. This followed by extensive cuts and hiring freezes at large platforms, including Meta, Google, and Amazon. Since then, Donald Trump has been admitted back on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Misinformation policies on COVID and elections have been rescinded. And last month, the newsletter platformer asked, have we reached peak trust and safety? Now, I will admit, I did a bit of a touchdown dance when all this was happening at the time, because just 1 year before that, the Harvard Misinformation Review was saying the misinformation, disinformation field is now too big to fail because it's so deeply ingrained in government work and government funding. So it went from too big to fail in, I believe it was 2022 when they wrote that piece, too big to fail to, has it already peaked? And they also, it was like around that same time, they said disinformation research is crumbling. This month, the author says, I attended the second TrustCon in San Francisco with over 800 attendees. I wonder if it was the same 800 Biden disinfo government employees. Over 800 attendees, the sold out event was 3 times larger than last year's. Sold out event. Censorship Con. Now, again, remember, I always say trust is the big censorship watchword. I mean, how many posts have I done on this? Trust. The whole thing that every censorship program is called the trust program, because what they do is they define mis or disinformation as anything that undermines public trust or confidence in democratic institutions. So the censorship program is designed to reinstall trust in approved authorities. So the problem is not that something is false. That's why they have a malinformation category. Even if it's true, if it still undermines trust, then it has to be taken down off the internet. So whenever you see trust in this context, just replace it with censorship. So sold out. It's like a damn Taylor Swift concert. You're on like SeatGeek. It's like, damn, the Taylor Swift concert sold out. Can we still get to Censorship Con? No, those are sold out too. Okay, let's go to a scalper. We're just going to go to San Francisco. We're going to stand outside the doors. Maybe someone will sell us their ticket, the hottest ticket in San Francisco. Despite the scenario described above, again, this July 2023, the mood was upbeat with professionals across the industry, along with civil society representatives, the NGOs, regulators, and academics. Academics. Can't spell academia without CIA. Excited to spend time in learning from each other, connecting. There's a certain esprit de corps among those who spend their days working in the dark trenches of the internet. That sensibility was on display in the slogans and stickers and fringe magnets distributed to conference participants like, "This is fine, I'm fine, everything's fine." "Well, that escalated quickly." "Bring out the ban hammer. Look at this shit." This is what the meeting of censorship professionals hands out as swag. Bring out the ban hammer. So this is 800 full-time professionals. They've bet their entire livelihoods on the growing industry for censorship demands. With the subtle flex that their own swag at their own conference, they hand out refrigerator magnets that say, "Bring out the ban hammer," because that's what they do for a living. Bring out the ban hammer. These fucking psychos. Gleeful. Perhaps unsurprisingly, the professionals at TrustCon, at Censorship, were somewhat optimistic about the future of the field, while acknowledging the pain of the current downturn, presented without comment. The first driver of this upbeat perspective was the ongoing baseline need for keeping platforms usable. As one trust and safety leader told me, "People will continue to be assholes on the internet and users won't stand for it." Yeah. Okay, remember, it's always Scorpion's tail. They always put they always put it in the reverse order of what they actually care about, right? This is the retail. No, you assholes. It's not because users demand it. It's because governments and CIA cutout NGOs and their tentacles in the advertiser space are forcing them to hire you. Also with AI, the second reason, here's the scorpion's tail. We follow the little vertebrae of the scorpion's tail, and we find the real stinger at the end. The second reason was the EU's Digital Censorship Act, which will have a substantial impact on several aspects of trust and safety work, the subject of several panels at CensorshipCon, in order to fulfill their censorship goals and policies, and in some cases, legal requirements for the Digital Censorship Act compliance. Some platforms are turning to a growing ecosystem of vendors. Many of these, naturally, were CensorshipCon sponsors and exhibitors, and well represented among the speakers. So how do you get a censorship conference in San Francisco sold out with all these government people, CIA university people, George Soros NGO people? How do you get some swanky Comic-Con for censors? Well, the commercial profiteers off of the censorship industry are sponsoring the event and trying to persuade the professionals to use their censorship technology instead of their competitors. So the growing ecosystem of censorship product vendors, scan and ban AI technology, narrative network mapping firms, disinformation dashboard, inclusion and exclusion white and black lists, they constituted a new locus of energy and investment. A number of venture capital firms were present at CensorshipCon, specifically interested in investing their financial capital in censorship startups. And I presume this is a list of the sponsors. I wonder if this hasn't been washed. Yeah, there you go. They 404'd it. Embarrassing now, is it? Wayback Machine, this shit. What, it's not politically popular anymore? Ain't too proud anymore? Ain't too proud? This is just like NATO wiping too proud to beg, huh? Ain't too proud. I was looking this up, that vendors were investing in trust and safety startups. Who were those VCs? Also, give me a list of the top 5 VCs who invest. I know a couple of the names offhand from years ago, but I've never actually really network mapped the VC impact investing firms at like a deep level. All right, BPO. What is BPO? Business process outsource companies. Okay. These are going to be the hired grunts, moderation platforms, tools and services. Okay. I know the VCs. That's really, people were upbeat because the EU DSA is going to force people to buy their products and services. And the infusion of huge amounts of venture capital money into the space is going to make them rich. That's why they're upbeat in 2023. 100,000 moderators. Some of these operations are not new. First level content moderations, 100,000 of them is estimated by one CensorshipCon attendee. 100,000 flaggers at the social media companies are employed by business process outsource companies, BPOs. Many of these companies have been around for decades and their mix of clients has evolved over time. They were typically customer service call centers, and then they expanded into clicking a dashboard of misinformation posts to see whether or not it violates the terms and service of Facebook if you questioned whether the vaccine caused myocarditis. TaskUs Senior Vice President Sean Neighbors admitted his company's revenue in this area has been flat for a few years and that content moderation clients have moved more of their services offshore to save money. Yeah, you can't compete. The Indian call centers just swooped in, moved into the flaggers. They're stealing American jobs. Those censorship jobs could go to good old-fashioned Americans. Unbelievable. And a comment echoed by other business procurement outsourcers. He also mentioned that labeling services for machine learning models are taking up an increasing amount of their business. Think of how funny this is. They're complaining that used to be that there were 100,000 people in the United States who were paid to take down content on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter. But now, cheap foreign labor, it's being outsourced abroad, and the AI is taking these people's jobs. Suddenly, they're like hardcore right-wing populists who are against outsourcing American jobs. And they're suddenly human purists who now have a bone to pick with the AI companies. Now, of course, the AI service censorship scan to ban technology people love this, but it's caused a change in the balance of power in the censorship industrial complex. Now the AI censorship companies are making way more money than the censorship flagger outsourcing companies. So these people are grumbling about this, but the AI scan and ban people are over the moon. And they're the ones who are going to be getting all the VC money. Another trend for the censorship outsourcing program providers has been increasing sophistication of the services they offer. TaskUs is bringing its content moderation and financial crime service departments together. That's incredible because this is 2023. The focus had moved at that point extremely to the demonetization ad revenue side. Are they basically bringing its censorship unit and its financial crime services departments together because they consider it basically a financial crime to earn $1 of revenue as a right-wing news site? And they want to be able to do digital forensics on whether or not the beneficial owner of an account is banned and that they're actually ban evading by having someone at like their mother or their wife as the name on the account. And so the money is going into the household of a repeat disinformation spreader and they can use that as an excuse to take it down. Dirty stuff. YPro is offering moderation wellness service providers for those who work in the platforms. It's mentally exhausting work to look at such heinous content, people questioning mail-in voting machines. In a connected development, Teleperformance, which had announced it was exiting the content moderation business last year following bad publicity about its moderators' exposures to traumatic experiences, said reverse that decision is doubling down. The company revealed the members of a new safety advisory board, which includes civil rights campaigners, moderation platforms for content platforms. The most prominent startups in the censorship business have emerged in the last few years, offering a core product to facilitate content moderation on platforms, along with supplementary services and differing emphases. We'll create a custom dashboard for your grunts to review or for AI to review about climate misinformation, public health misinformation, election misinformation, hate speech about Asians, hate speech about African Americans, hate speech about Hispanic Americans, hate speech about the Rohingya in Myanmar, Ukraine disinformation dashboard. This is what these are. These are platforms for navigating the takedown process and the priority tier rapid response unit dashboards. These companies are worthy of discussion in greater detail as they represent the biggest shift in how trust and safety is evolving as a field. Somewhat unusually for the US-focused tech platform industry, key players in this space are based in France, Israel, and the UK, as well as the US, though all have alumni of large platforms in their senior ranks who know the necessities and failings of the legacy system. This is not a surprise to me. In fact, this is exactly how much of the U.S. field is because of the First Amendment. They have to work with allies abroad who are big on censorship. France was the key. Well, the UK was the biggest NATO ally in the censorship industrial complex, but France was, in certain respects, the most aggressive. And also, the Biden administration worked France was made the head of the OECD Misdisinfo Hub, and they ran point for the Biden administration for censoring the Biden administration's enemies in Europe, whereas a lot of the UK ones were focused on going after Americans because the CIA and State Department couldn't go after them directly. So they had to fund British organizations. And then Israel's obviously a huge censorship state and want to basically curate narratives virtually every country. Their Unit 8200 were the marquee folks in the technology for social media sentiment online and mining that and all that. And also parking it in a foreign country also allows you work through that because of the First Amendment issue. But they're also, again, just allied in the censorship industrial complex. Although these companies were founded during the 2017 to 2021 trust and safety boom, censorship boom. The downturn, the post-Elon, post-Republican control of the House, post-me downturn in 2023 has meant the platforms have less inclination and ability to develop in-house content moderation. With the EU Digital Censorship Act requirements looming, legal compliance that forces them, subscribing to a service that claims to be a compliant out of the box is all the more appealing. That way, it's not Facebook who is blamed for it. They said, listen, we're legally required to do it. Under the law, only 8 firms are credentialed to do this work. We chose a credentialed one. There's nothing else we can do. ActiveFence was the first of this set to emerge, and establishing an intelligence gathering service that proactively detects violating content on platforms now offers what is plausibly the most complete solution for content moderation, with a freemium model available for small platforms. You know, free limited services, but if you want the full AI scan and ban suite, you gotta pay. CEO Noam Schwartz emphasized the importance of making insights of all kinds imaginable by integrating them into the content moderation censorship platform. With a recent $100 million funding round completed, so here's your VC capital. In 2023, the intelligence gathering service proactively detecting your criticism of vaccines, climate change, abortion, intervention in Ukraine, electronic voting machines, $100 million in a single round of venture capital investment, which means the investors are going to expect a lot more than $100 million in return. They're going to be expecting a $1 billion business. They want a 10x. VC is risky. If you don't have 10x potential, at least you don't put the money up. To consolidate the market by acquiring smaller services and absorbing their advantages into ActiveFence's end-to-end product. We got a deep dive ActiveFence. Making a note. Where's my snare? I got no snare in my headphones. I need more snare. Get back to where we get back to where you will. All right, so let's get back to this. Although all these platforms promise some form of EU Digital Censorship Act compliance, the French company Tramau offers standalone consultancy services as well, and undeniably has deeper expertise in the EU Digital Censorship Act. I'm actually very interested in the government touch points with these groups as well. Like, I wonder, did ActiveFence employ former USAID people, former CIA people? Did it work with the Biden National Security Council? Note to myself here. Notable quotables. Interesting. Very, very interesting. With 2 of its leaders having been involved in the development of the legislation. Holy shit. The company, 2 of the leaders, were they also founders? 2 of the leaders of the private company that for profit is paid by U.S. tech platforms in order to comply with the EU Digital Censorship Act. 2 of the people who wrote the legislation went on to found the company or lead the company that profits off of the legislation. What a fucking scandal. This would be like when Sarbanes-Oxley was passed after Enron. And now everybody has to hire all these new accounting firms, and every publicly traded company has to do all of this KYC and due diligence, all this. What if I wrote the Sarbanes-Oxley Act and then immediately started a private for-profit business to help companies pass IRS scrutiny and SEC scrutiny to navigate the law I just wrote? This is not donor drafter class. This is drafter class. They drafted the legislation and then drafted for profit off of the legislation they drafted. This is the first example of drafter class. They drafted the law and then they started a private for-profit company that drafts off of that law to make the profit. Holy shit. That's incredible. It's a fucking business. When did they get the idea to start this company? Do you think while they were writing the legislation, they were like, oh, dude, we can make so much fucking money. ActiveFence is now Alice. Dude, this shit is going to be so fucking hard to comply with. Dude, it's going to cost so much fucking money for people to comply. They're going to have to write a disinformation risk assessment every quarter. They're going to have to hire all these new AI companies to do scan and bans. They're going to have to do all this deep topographical network mapping of all these misinformation narratives. These companies are going to have to pay hundreds of millions of dollars a year to comply with this law. We should start a business as a one-stop shop they can hire so that instead of paying $100 million to 10 different companies, they'll just pay $50 million a year to us every year. Every platform will be $1 billion business within 2 years. What a fucking scam. Oh my gosh. And they're at World Economic Forum. Well, remember, the World Economic Forum named misinformation the word of the year, right? World Economic Forum, misinformation, word of the year, or most important issue of the year? Yeah, the 2024 World Economic Forum said that misinformation and disinformation were the biggest and most severe short-term global risks over the next 2 years. And again, the World Economic Forum is going to coordinate the wheel of commerce so that the flow of business goes into the service providers, goes to the regulators, impose it so that you're forced to do this. By the way, I warned about all of this shit. Literally, I think exactly as this was going on. I did this video, August 2023, and I had no idea about this article, for example. This was July 2023. So literally, contemporaneously, I was thinking the exact same thing as these fucking CIA motherfuckers at Tech Policy Press at the exact same time. August 1st. This was July 24th. 1 week, July, August, literally 1 week after this, I was contemporaneously saying this in this video. Middleware plan to restructure the censorship industry. Middleware equals censorship as a service organization, morphing from top down to middle out, building up a middle ecosystem. And then regulations plus this middleware concept equals a disinformation compliance market. And literally, unbeknownst to me at the time, the biggest CIA media front for the censorship complex, or at least the most technically specialized, they literally emphasize compliance, disinformation compliance. And here's what I said at the end of this video. Contemporaneously, with no idea that this formal language even existed, the same fucking week.
And one thing to really be out on the lookout for here is something around disinformation compliance. Now, this is going to be big. Because on August 25th, sorry, it's a little hot out here. On August 25th, just weeks away, the EU is going to kick into motion these new rules requiring compliance with EU disinformation rules for Twitter to continue to do business in the EU market. NewsGuard is already billing itself as a disinformation compliance service to comply with these new EU disinformation laws. So you have the situation right now where what they're trying to do is, rather than have DHS force Twitter through coercive pressure and twisting their arm, they're going to have entities like NewsGuard step in, and in order to comply with the EU disinformation regulations, you're going to need to buy NewsGuard's disinformation compliance services. Very similar to how this whole compliance with DEI industry popped up when you needed DEI programs for your ESG scores or to qualify for government contracts. It's very nasty stuff, and it's coming soon.
Literally that very week, TrustCon, Censorship Con is playing out. I didn't even know that existed at the time, but just from everything else, this was so obvious. And they literally say EU DSA compliance. In fact, that was the reason for optimism for their $100 million VC rounds. Oh my God. The reason for optimism was the EU DSA, which is going to force them to buy from these disinformation service providers to comply with the law. A growing ecosystem of these vendors, venture capital firms, $100 million funding rounds for them. That was playing out that same week. Ben Stradamus. Holy shit, man. That was probably the first time anyone outside the 800 people at TrustCon or the 1,000 disinfo employees in the Biden government had used the phrase disinformation compliance. That was probably the first time a Trump-supporting person uttered this phrase. And I use this phrase as a jab, and they are using it non-ironically, self-owning it, and it's a good thing. Incredible. A good thing for our business, because our business is providing the censorship services. Incredible. And what they're going to do is they're going to buy up the market. It's like, fuck. So Active Fence is using the United Fruit strategy, going around buying up all the little banana shops, all the little small, oh, well, we specialize. Yeah, sure. Active Fence does misinfo for elections and for COVID, but they don't have a robust climate change disinformation dashboard. We have a PhD from MIT, and we've got the best quant on climate modeling. And so Active Fence is like, yo, okay, we'll just buy you. That way we own your market share, and then we can upcharge our clients, Facebook, Google, Twitter, because now that you don't exist anymore, they'll have to pay everything they paid you plus more because they have nowhere else they can go if they want climate misinformation, legal compliance with the EU DSA or the UK Online Safety Act. Although some of these platforms promise some form of EU Censorship Act compliance, the French company, okay, this is the one that we were talking about, the drafter class. While its current platform clients are in the 60 to 100 moderator range, medium-sized platforms, Tremau CEO Louis Victor de François, confirmed to me that the company's advisory clients included 3 of the 17 platforms designated as VLOPs, the very large online platforms, founded by former Meta employees. Cinder says it's built with an awareness of organizational complexity at large companies. So these motherfuckers at Facebook were probably in the content moderation team, and they were like, the companies we're paying to do this flagging work are making more money than us here at the company paying them. Why don't we leave Meta? Why don't we leave Facebook and Instagram's trust and safety team, start up our own censorship business, and Facebook will pay us more as contractors than as employees? Fucking sick. Brian Fishman. Where do I know him? And a national security background? Where do I know Brian Fishman? Why does that name sound so familiar? Cinder. Where do I know this guy? And of course, like all these fucking spooks, author of the master plan, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and the Jihadi strategy, Yale University Press. Did this guy work with John Kiriakou in CIA counterterrorism? I've seen this guy around. I've seen his Twitter. He deleted his Twitter. This guy used to be on Twitter a lot saying like the worst shit. I remember his Twitter account. Russian disinfo article. Yeah, I bet. Election security. This guy used to be like back in like 2020 to 2024. This Brian Fishman account. I remember it. I mined some wild shit off of this. Okay, let's keep going. Noam Schwartz. How the U.S. government can combat Russian disinformation on Ukraine. That same month as CensorshipCon. Let me guess. It should pass a law requiring Facebook to use Active Fence's services. This is exactly what NewsGuard did around this exact time. NewsGuard, middleware, MyQuest. NewsGuard, this is its co-founder, Gordon Krovitz. What I learned on my quest to fix America's social media problem. What's the subtitle? Middleware. That was putting them in control of the algorithms as a middle piece of software between the users and Facebook. Congress is going to have to force the internet companies to buy it. The problem is Facebook doesn't want to buy the product that I produce for profit. Here's what I learned from my business model as a multi-million-dollar company in the censorship industrial complex. My business model is dog shit because nobody wants me organically. So Congress is going to have to force YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram to buy my shit so I make money. Congress is going to have to force tech companies to buy my product so I make money, and 300 million Americans are censored online. Heavily involved with Palantir? Man, it's a dirty business. But I bet you that's what he's going to recommend. If not in this article, then. Because notice how he's saying it's the U.S. government. This motherfucker just got $100 million in venture capital funds to build scan and ban technology to censor the internet. He wants the Department of Defense. He wants the military, the Pentagon, the CIA, the State Department, USAID to all buy Active Fence Ukraine disinformation dashboard. That's what he wants. The State Department suggestions to block websites are a start. Block websites. Hey, this Ukraine war isn't going so well. Block the website. Hey, Ukraine just embezzled all this money. Block the website. Dirty ass motherfucker. CEO quote, rebill. This is a Senate. Oh my gosh. Cybersecurity. This is back in the CISA era where they were laundering this all. Active Fence supports it. Yeah, of course. Unbelievable. Is Ehud Barak part of this? Yeah, probably. Well, we know Mike Pompeo is. Cyabra. Shut down Hungary election? What the fuck? Yo, you guys are finding some gold. Pro-Fidesz misinformation tactics? Dude, this is some fucking CIA, State Department, EU, NATO. I bet you the EU pays them a fuck ton, or NATO. On the Atlantic Council DFR task force? Jesus. Rose Jackson. Yeah. Wait, isn't she a tech policy press? Yale. UNESCO. Senior Director of Policy at Discord. This is how your video games get censored, guys. Look at that. Roblox? Dude, they're censoring the video games. Holy shit. The CIA's censorship task force. Remember, the Atlantic Council is a CIA conduit. It has 7 CIA directors on its board right now as we speak. 7 former number 1 heads of the CIA are on the Atlantic Council's board of directors. Annual payments to the Atlantic Council from the Pentagon, State Department, USAID, and NED. And they got the fucking Roblox people to censor. Yo, the CIA got Roblox. The head of policy at Discord. Dude, they went straight after the gamers. Oh, this was right when they gobbled up the COD producer, the Atlantic Council did. Holy shit. And they got the Reddit head too there. Dude. Harvard, don't just love to see who rules over you. Member of the Meta Oversight Board. Fuck. Yeah. Here. Oh my God. The executive director of the Berkman Klein Center. Fucking hell. Stanford Cyber Policy Center. Ah, God. Why do they all look the same? And of course, another Yale, straight out of fucking 2023 CIA Central Casting. This is like CIA Central Casting for 2023. Yale. That Yale thing. What'd you find here? Spiral. Bridget Fink. Berkman Klein Center. Yep. They're one of the big four hubs. I wrote a lot about them in my Harvard censorship stuff, write-ups. Berkman Klein Center, the Shorenstein Center, the Belfer Center, Kennedy Center, I think. Color of Change. Catherine Marr. Good old Catherine Marr. Our CIA NPR. Went on to be head of NPR, right? Zero surprises so far. Tech Dirt. Ah, no way. Mike Masnick from Tech Dirt was working with the CIA censorship task force? No fucking way. Dude. Oh my God. So you may ask yourself, how did I get this beautiful wife? You may ask yourself, how did I get on the CIA's censorship task force when I just run a blog? Well, I'm about to answer. It was Mike Masnick at TechDirt who tried to lead the counter crusade against me during the Twitter Files fight. The disinformation campaign that has effectively destroyed the ability to combat disinformation. Mike Masnick blames me personally for shutting down the censorship industrial complex. New York Times notes how Benz is conspiracy theory nonsense. Mr. Benz was also one of the originators of the... No, that was completely fucking true, you fucking moron. They identified 22 million tweets out of 859 million tweets. Read the fucking documents. I've posted them 100 times. And let me... just because I can't miss a chance to dunk on this asshole. Look at this. Here you go, Mike Masnick.
In 2020, our team identified more than 20 million tweets related to more than 400 distinct false, misleading, or unsubstantiated claims about election materials, election processes, or election results that function to sort of sow doubt in the election. What we're really talking about is rumors about the elections themselves, about ballots and voting, and whether the vote was fair. So really...
Hey, Mike Masnick, can you fucking read? This was not just in the internal report. They fucking bragged about it and did promotional lectures about identifying 20 million tweets as misinformation during the 2020 election cycle. This was not some statistical claim that I made up using some like rigged methodological jargon terms and abstract logic. This is literally the co-head of the project bragging about it so they can get more fucking government money from the National Science Foundation to do this for COVID. So Mike, asshole, are you one, just a fucking idiot, or two, you just can't read? Not being able to read is a bad quality for someone who's a professional blogger. So you just must be a fucking idiot. I kept wondering, why is everyone citing TechDirt? Because when Mike Masnick wrote this article personally, the founder and head of it, everyone in the fucking disinfo, all my spies in their group chats and all this shit, everyone was always like writing, like this article was like because I mean, look, 16 times, Schellenberger credits Benz, Jim Jordan credits Benz, New York Times credits, and it's all about, oh, he's this horrible person. And I'm like, what? His name shows up repeatedly in all of this, including in efforts by Jim Jordan to attack disinformation operations, motherfucker. Meanwhile, so I'm like, why the hell is this random blog being amplified by all these State Department, CIA, USA, Department of War people? Why are the Europeans sharing this? What? This is like some tiny little blog for like tech wonks. Come to find out, this dude was on the fucking CIA task force for countering misinformation, countering people like me. Yeah, that is crazy. Yeah, cited by the Eve. Yo, crazy. Is this really? This is the best you got? The best you got? You got to hire someone who can't fucking read? Even if you can't read, Mike, she said it out loud 20 times just in this clip alone. They wrote it down in their report. They talked about it openly and proudly until it became politically scandalous. You need more arrows? More highlights, maybe? So you can't read. You're deaf, dumb, and blind. You're deaf and blind because you can't either read or hear her, and you're definitely dumb. That's crazy. John Montgomery? Oh my God. You guys just wait on this. Oh my God. I have to, hold on a sec. No fucking way. Oh, they don't mention on here that John Montgomery is also on the board of Internews and was USAID's point person for demonetizing all conservative populist websites around the world through Group M, the single largest online advertising conglomerate in the world for the past 23 years. This was their secret weapon for YouTube demonetization, for Google AdWords demonetization, for demonetizing Breitbart and 1,000 other of these. This guy had a formal fucking partnership with the U.S. government to do it under the Biden administration. That's crazy. Stanford Internet Observatory, of course. Moore Berkman Kleinman Center, of course. Yoel Roth, former head of censorship at Twitter. Where's Yoel Roth now, by the way? Let's see if they list it in the bio. Doesn't look like it. Nope. Yoel Roth went on to work for the CIA's favorite think tank, run by Bill Burns, the CIA director. It's also the same place the CIA whistleblower in the Ukraine impeachment affair, Eric Ciaramella, escaped to. Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. Same CIA nest, all there together. Eli Sugarman, I know this guy. Open Web, more stuff. Trust and Safety Professional Organization. Oh, this is going to be a hoot. There are so many hundreds of thousands of people and tens of millions of dollars in the space that they have their own professional association. They have a guild. They have their American Bar Association for the Censorship Club. Oh, this is too funny. OpenAI, of course. Got diligence, this guy. Isn't he the one who hired Ben Nimmo? Nicole Wong? Yep. Holy shit. Dude. Of course, Nicole Wong. Oh my God. Yeah, she was the fucking like White House CTO, like censorship czarina under the Biden administration. Also, CISA, Luminate. Oh my gosh. Albright Stonebridge Group? Yo. What the fuck? How deep does this one go? Dude, Albright Stonebridge Group? I mean, because I know about this other shit. I knew that she was like general counsel at like Twitter and all this shit before running the censorship stuff from inside the government. But Luminate, Albright Stonebridge Group, shit. That was Madeleine Albright's private consulting company, for-profit vehicle to draft off of U.S. coup craft. Albright Stonebridge ran the operation to get the electronic voting machines into Brazil ahead of the 2022 election, while the CIA was forcing Brazil to not oppose it. They had to back channel this deal with Taiwan. Dude, it's nasty shit. Act Defense. Yeah, look at that. First one on the list. Dude. Big money, money, money. And you know, because the Pentagon pays the Atlantic Council every year, the State Department pays the Atlantic Council every year, USAID pays the Atlantic Council every year, NED pays the Atlantic Council every year. They are going to be getting government contracts for censorship work through their Atlantic Council affiliation. Client color change. Oh, Jesus. Of course. I've not done a full stream on these guys, but give me a couple weeks or a couple months and I will have quite a story to tell you about. Network Initiative 2. These were all the people USAID was with. Tremau. Dude, what a find. We're at 3 hours and 38 minutes already. Hewlett, Schmidt. I have this. This is high sell. Yo, this is wild. All right. Should we get back to the article? Wait, let's get back to the article. The IP addresses of sites spreading false. Jesus Christ. Increase our capacity by investing in the development of resources. It's exactly what I said. Remember, I said Noam Schwartz with his $100 million in private VC funds. That's not enough. $100 million for me to build my censorship software is not enough. That's just private sector money from VCs. We could probably make another $100 million in government contracts. So that's why he's saying how the U.S. government can do it. Capacity build outside private experts. Increase our capacity. Current U.S. resources are insufficient in the fight against disinformation. The U.S. has the capacity to make a significant difference. Just give me more taxpayer dollars so I can censor the taxpayers who are paying me millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions. What's this? FutureCon. Oh, is this disinfo? Yeah, navigating disinfo. The agenda set. AI, board. Beyond the dashboard. Intelligence error in the new TrustCon. All right, let's get back to it. Where's our article? Okay, Brian Fishman. CheckStep, a UK firm, is also focused on regulations. Maybe well placed to ensure compliance with the expected UK Online Censorship Act, the very thing today that forced the takedown of the UK Reform Party's advertisement. The Online Safety Act to silence political opponents. TikTok removed my Reform UK advertisement, cited the Online Safety Act as the reason they had to take it down, which in mid-2023 had not yet come online. But already there was a private profiteer in place ready to capture the market for disinformation compliance. Yeah, the 2024 World Economic Forum said that misinformation and disinformation were the biggest and most severe short-term global risks over the next 2 years. So when the World Economic Forum says the single biggest threat we need to address is misinformation, disinformation. Is it any surprise that the World Economic Forum is going to be telling all the big Fortune 500 companies to invest in misinformation, disinformation solutions, i.e. Act Defense? It's an Israeli company. Nasty. Act Defense rebrands as Alice, shifting focus to AI security. Raised $140 million. Okay, so here's a list of the VCs. This is a bad look. 3 billion users. Employs 350 people. 270 are based in Israel, and the rest are spread across the UK, the US, Far East. Nasty. Super nasty. Okay, individual tools and services. Sift gave a presentation on how she went undercover on dating platforms. 5 classifiers for a huge range of content types. Unitary, which classifies video content. Disclosure, I also write. Perspective API by Jared Cohen and Jigsaw. How my path here started. All the greatest hits. Kroll, CIA Black Pit, weirdly involved in 9/11. I think Kroll's also deeply involved in NewsGuard. Oh, it's a nasty business. The CIA wants something censored, the government wants something, the military wants something censored, or if a big corporation wants something censored. They're like the black cube of the disinformation space. Although it sounds like Act Defenses too. Safer, created by Thorn. Trust Lab is also building out an end-to-end solution specifically for DSA compliance. Fuck. Dude, Trust Lab, I remember these guys. Based in Silicon Valley, well-connected, 5 of the 10 largest platforms in the current customer industry. Underpinning Censorship Con is the work of the Censorship Professional Association. Hosts it. Oh, so they host it. I wonder what their website looks like. Who funds the Trust and Safety Professional Association? Is it going to be these same VCs? Is it going to be foreign governments? Is it going to be Microsoft? Corporate support. Let's see. This is going to be a trip, I bet. Your company is recognized as a leader in the censorship list. Airbnb, after they hired Eric Holder, they did all that Obama political shit. Cloudflare, Meta, of course, they're going to pay. Wikimedia Foundation, Catherine Marr, founding. So those are the founding. Microsoft, Match Group Trust and Safety Center. Oh, it looks like things started to get bad for business in 2024, did they? Well, that's a shame. Growing class. Sao Paulo, I bet. Look at this. This is the formal trade association for the censorship industrial complex. And look at what they identify as the reason they exist. Because there's online misinformation about systemic racism, police violence, COVID-19, hate speech and misinformation, police violence. You can't support the police? Dude, this is the official website describing their mission. Misinformation about police violence. Jesus Christ. Yeah, this is like the evil TPUSA, TSPA, Trust and Safety Professionals. It was founded in the wake of the 2018 Content Moderation at Scale Como Conference in Santa Clara. Content Moderation at Scale Conference. Eric Goldman, curious to mine this. Another ClownCon. Got a foundation and regulations to see who rules over you. Platforms must collaborate, both formal and informal. This is a terrible. Vendorization is the next step in this process. Yep. Industrial scale. Oh, look at this. Cinder's Brian Fishman cited Alex Stamos, my best friend. I think Stamos thinks about me a lot more than I think about him. But wow, what an episode that was. Me and Alex and me. This is such a personal story. The past 2 hours of the stream have been very personal. Yeah, exactly. This cybersecurity, cyber censorship, security. This is literally, I had a whole phrase for this. The cybersecurity to cyber censorship switcheroo. In the early days, the cyber censorship teams had penis envy, that it wasn't a real field. It was just a small cutout of the cybersecurity because at the time there was no legal pretext for having a censorship team. You had to call it cybersecurity and then classify misinformation as one category of cyber threat acting. And they're like, well, we demand the respect that the cybersecurity people get. We should really be our own field. But then people will know we're censoring. Shit, not yet. And then, Biden wins and no one could stop them. They went whole fucking hog. Yep, an emerging common language. That's exactly it. Censor speak. That's why, and that common language is why it's so difficult for outsiders to penetrate the internal source documents, even when they're right on their computer screen, because they don't speak the language. They don't know what trust really means. They don't know what cyber threat actor really means. They don't know what democratic institution really means. They don't know how the words plug into each other. So, this is what it was like in the early days. In 2023, 2024, when I would be going from Congress office to Congress office with a stack of documents, they'd say, well, this just says trust and safety. This just says democratic institution. This just says resilience. This just says researcher. No. In their language, this is what this means. You need to speak censor speak. Trim out Ofcom, Microsoft, George Washington University. Oh, great. Let's see what House of Horrors this is. Spiral Bewilder's Little House of Horrors here in the chat. God. Trust and Safety Edition Partner. Best Practices Framework. Are all companies going to have the same policies now? Remember, it's like, they all have the same policies. They all censor the same things. Oh, how does that happen? Well, they literally all get in a room and are told, do this or else. All right, let's skip this. This development also brings risks, especially if access to censorship resources is centralized to a small number of vendors, which is literally Noam Schwartz at the Active Fence Alice's plan. The recent Scaling Trust on the Web report, facilitated by the Atlanta Council DFR Lab, noted the tendency of censorship startups to be acquired by platforms for internal use, scaling censorship on the web. Vendors I spoke to were reluctant to explain who amongst the platform teams they might be replacing. This is so funny. I had a really important related point to this. Notice how many of these censorship profiteering private groups who implement the censorship and get paid by the platforms to do it were started by former people at the platforms and still know all the trust and safety teams at the platforms. This is something that I have run into repeatedly, which is this. And I wrote this down, so I want to read it. Note, these people all know people at the platforms, so they can start a business monetizing that access. Just like a good lawyer knows the law, but a great lawyer knows the judge, a good censor knows the terms of service. A great censor knows the trust and safety team. If you are a politician or a campaign manager or a corporation or a government agency or an intelligence service, and you want a story wiped off the web, you want an account nuked who's doing investigative journalism on you, so you want to hire one of these hundreds of censorship vendors that we're going over on tonight's stream, who are you going to hire? A good censor knows the terms of service of the platform and can make an argument about why it violates the terms of service to justify taking it down. But a great censor, the one you really want to hire, is someone who knows the people at the platform trust and safety team, preferably one who they've got a working relationship and might owe that person favors, and so will take it down as a personal request. A lawyer who knows the judge will always beat a lawyer who knows the law, because no matter how good you are at making your legal argument, if the other lawyer knows the judge and they're friends, the judge is going to side with his friend. All of these companies know people at all these trust and safety teams from their previous careers, from being a part of the same censorship professional association, from being on the same task force at the Atlanta Council together, from being in the same fellowship program at the Carnegie Endowment together. And they leverage that inside access to get expedited takedowns, to get preferential treatment. And they monetize that inside access and probably are pitching their corporate clients on how deeply connected they are, how deep their Rolodex is, so that the CIA can get a story killed, or the French or Israeli government, or BlackRock, or David Axelrod. It is an industry now that serves not just corporations, not just governments, but corporations and brands. When a bad story removed. That's why the PR companies, by the way, play such a big role in the space, like Edelman. And we saw that even the people who work at the Censorship Professional Association were like PR people. Make this story go away. Make this account go away. Make this YouTube channel go away. Let's get back to, there's still gaps. They're clustered around moderation flow and AI labeling. The censorship vendor ecosystem still has plenty of room to grow and a variety of new services being offered. Logically, Perkins Coie? What the fuck? Why is the DNC CIA law firm, which has a private SCIF for the FBI in its legal offices, always sponsoring these CIA adjacent spaces? It's the only law firm I see do this. Do you guys remember when we did the CIA OnlyFans? NDI, Corporate Donors 2008. And remember, who gets the inside access by paying the CIA OnlyFans Platinum tier subscription? You guys remember this? If you pay NDI, which was set up by the CIA in 1982 and still functions as the most expansive CIA cutout in the world. NDI is the DNC branch of NED, again, run by Madeleine Albright at the time, former Secretary of State for Bill Clinton. Corporate partners, Microsoft, a bunch of banks, Lockheed Martin, ExxonMobil, the De Beers Diamond Company, Daimler, Eli Lilly, HarperCollins, Johnson & Johnson, Boeing, Chevron, and there's one law firm, Perkins Coie. Why is Perkins Coie, the famous CIA touchpoints firm that's known as the DNC's law firm, that does all this classified work for the intelligence community? They're the corporate sponsor for the CIA's biggest cutout. In exchange, they get private calls and briefings with the CIA cutout chairman. They get targeted country-specific briefings so they can scoop up clients and contracts in all these foreign countries. They get private access to visiting foreign dignitaries and ambassadors, so Perkins Coie can pitch them on using Perkins Coie. How do you be a rainmaker at Perkins Coie? Well, if you're working with U.S. national security and classified clients, probably a big international business too. And here they are sponsoring the Censorship Professional Association. Perkins Coie represent Ray Epps. Perkins Coie represented Ray fucking Epps in his failed defamation suit. And again, this is my story. I'm the one who wrote the stuff on this. And they never sued Revolver, even though we wrote the story. They tried to intimidate Fox News. They knew it was a total bullshit case, but they thought, look, Fox News backed down off the Dominion thing. They'll back down off this. And they'll kill the story. Everyone will be too afraid to talk about Ray Epps and the feds because they don't want to get sued for $100 million. Case was fucking dismissed, but it killed the story for like 2 years because everyone was afraid of talking about it. The DNC law firm represented the hardcore right-winger who told everyone, go into the Capitol.
Tomorrow, we need to go into the Capitol. Into the Capitol. What? Tomorrow? I don't even like to say it because I'll be arrested.
Well, let's not say it.
We need to go. I'll say it.
All right.
We need to go in.
Shut the fuck up, Boomer.
To the Capitol.
Monument Hill.
The president is done speaking. We are going to the Capitol, where our problems are. It's that direction. Please spread the word. All right.
Noted.
Okay, but one more thing.
Yeah, so can we go up there? No?
When we go in,
Are we going to get arrested if we
leave
go
this
up there?
here. You don't need to get
Did you
shot.
arrest us all?
And was at the front line. He was the original breach guy at 12:53 p.m. One of the first 10 people storming the perimeter of the Penn Walkway entrance and waiting for the Proud Boys to arrive for 45 minutes beforehand. Spent the whole morning telling people, go to the Capitol. Literally coordinate with Maroon PB when we go in, leave this here. Frontline the entire way, represented by the DNC law firm that does classified work for the intelligence community. It's also sponsoring the Censorship Professional Association as well as NED, the CIA's biggest cutout. Fascinating. Around the same time, too. July 2023. I wonder if Perkins Coie people had any role in actually drafting the EU DSA or UK Online Censorship Act. I wonder if they do legal compliance work. I wonder if Perkins Coie represents the tech platforms. I mean, they're co-sponsoring events. Does Perkins Coie, and they do all this regulatory government affairs work. Perkins Coie does. I mean, they're co-sponsoring the events with them. Does Perkins Coie also represent Facebook in its challenges with government? So the more regs they can put on Meta, the more money they make off the client they're sucking the blood out of. And I wonder why she went away. And I wonder where she will stay. My little runaway. Run, 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 run away.
As I walk along, I wonder what went wrong with our love, a love that was so strong. And as I still walk on, I think of the things we've done together while our hearts were young. I'm a walking in the rain, tears are falling and I feel a pain, wishing you were here by me to end this misery. And I wonder, I wonder why she ran away. And I wonder where she will stay, my little runaway. Run, 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 run away. I'm a walking in the rain, tears are falling and I feel a pain, wishing you were here by me to end this misery. And I
Fuck you.
wonder,
Fuck you, Perkins Coie.
I wonder why she ran away. And I wonder run away.
We beat their ass in court. Isn't that crazy? Beat them in court, got their security clearances removed. I wonder if they're still sponsoring them. Huh. All right. Wait, we got more. We got a lot more. We have 2 more things to do. I don't feel no ways tired. How are you guys doing? We have to do another stream on this. I want to stream every night, honestly. But the problem is it takes me so long to clip shit that, like, if I stream, I need to spend the next like couple days when I'm not working my government job to like clip it and get out the like segments of the previous one that I think the public really needs to know. But I'm hoping I solve that with AI. I've already started the process of like integrating a bunch of like automated clipping services or whatever into my Adobe. And I'm still like figuring out how to do that. I gave it like a test run last night, for example, to like auto clip in my timeline and things like that. It's pretty cool stuff. And I'm really optimistic about it. But what I'd like to dial in is like auto clipping, where it's like I don't lose a single day. Like I can literally stream at night, wake up in the morning, run the clipping in segments like automatically through AI, do my work during the day, and then stream at night. That would be awesome. I could just do that every day. It's like, it's 3 a.m., but how many even subscribers are going to make it 4 hours and 20 minutes into the stream as we're finding all this shit? That makes me want to be like, okay, let's put a pin in this here and we'll pick up the stream tomorrow night. But I already know as soon as I get home from work tomorrow, I'm going to be like, oh, but we found all this stuff last night. I need to clip that. And it's going to take me like 4 hours. So I'm hoping AI just solves this. And this is the issue. Monkey actually identified it. Monkey tail. From what I see, Claude Code is really the only AI that can do this. Claude Code plus Remotion. But that requires me to pay the evil empire, Anthropic. X really needs an agentic system that can connect to content production tools. Because I would love to use, like, I told you the reasons that I use ChatGPT on screen so that you can send this to your liberal normie friends and they can't say, oh, it's Grok AI, it's a Elon, whatever. Or like when Mike Masnick writes his next hit piece on and be like, bitch, this is your own shit. OpenAI is on your fucking CIA censorship task force with you. All right. Anthropic is like another level fuckery, but they are the only ones who can have the technical solution. I feel like the CIA right now. You know, like the John Ratcliffe CIA. I'm like, we have to defund Ned. They're crushing the president's agenda around the world. And they're like, Benz, we hear you. We get it. But who else is going to be able to run Starlinks to Iran? Who else is going to be able to run smuggling networks for Ukraine? They provide this indispensable service. So we have to pay them. They're like, do you know anyone, Benz, who can smuggle Starlinks into Iran? Do you have a Rolodex of 1,600 dissidents in Iran? Do you have relationships with the Kurds and with allied factions of the Taliban to be able to take drug money and convert it? Do you have bank branch manager access in Turkey? No, bitch. Well, guess what? We're at war with Iran, and we want to overthrow the Iranian government. No one else can do this job but Ned. So sit your ass down. We're paying a subscription model. We're paying a $20 subscription a month to Anthropic, even though Anthropic's trying to kill us. That's like me. I get it. I always understood that dynamic, and then I have to work within that. But now I'm literally on the other side of the table. If streaming every night is my Iran war, the thing that I want to spend my whole budget doing, how do I achieve that without my Ned, my Claude Code plus Remote? Elon, you don't just have to save Earth, motherfucking Earth, and the universe and the U.S. government. You need to save my content production flow. Elon, can't you just buy Anthropic, dude? Dude, come on. Just buy it, dude. Or can't you just steal all of their best engineers and just make XAI code? You could be our European Union buying Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty when USAGM stops funding, you know? This one's for me, Elon. They're your enemy too. Buy them out. Do the active fence strategy, the United Fruit strategy. Just buy your competitor. Come on. I want to use Grok for it. X now has it. Hermes. What is this? X Hermes. Does it connect to Premiere Pro? Yo, Spiral, DM me about that. X now has Hermes Agent brand new. Do they have, okay, because like basically what I looked up is Claude Code plus Remotion. Like this is what I haven't implemented it yet. It looks just incredibly powerful. 10 from Lottie Presents. Anthropic's safety layer is a disaster. It's woke as hell and constantly interferes. Yeah, it's exactly right. Thank you for the 10, by the way. Okay. All right. Spiral's got the hookup. I just feel like we tonight only barely scratched the surface of this topic. I'm glad we got a bunch of names to diligence and track down, but there are a bunch of these things that I wanted to do tonight. Let me see by tomorrow afternoon if I can just do a part 2, and we have to go over my deep research report. Look at this. I asked for the biggest players in a tiered list of the biggest censorship industrial complex vendors, not just the flagger types or like the Atlanta Council, DFR Lab, Carnegie, CIA policy shops, but the actual like corporate money makers for the censorship industrial complex. Look at that. $750 million a year for censorship industrial complex. So the biggest money is in the ad space, as you'd predict. The top two biggest revenue earners are for censoring for advertisers, censoring misinfo for advertisers. And then Alice is listed as the largest private pure play trust and safety infrastructure, just the censorship at the platform level. $500 million event. I had to make this whole report on the economics of the counter disinformation industry. And I want to go through this, cross-matching it with a bunch of the other things we found. Plus, what I want to do is I want to run, and I'll do a deep dive. I'll set the research in as soon as I end the stream to show you guys. So I have like a clean chart of every blob touch point. And I'll keep this window open too, that I would ever close a tab. My Tab Mountain. Maybe that'll be our outro song, The Climb, as we build a new Tab Mountain on a brand new computer. I only have one browser and only 5 windows currently. It's so cute. It's a newborn baby. But what I want to do is I'm going to create like a matrix chart of all the blob touch points of every single person here. Because I bet you're going to find USAID, CIA, DOD, Brussels, NATO, UK. Like you're going to find, like, I want to really understand like the full entity here now that I know how influential they are on US and EU government policy, and Australia government policy, and Canada government policy around the censorship industrial complex. So, but it's going to take 25 minutes for AI to produce that research report. It's going to take an hour to read through it. And I also want to hit the research report that took 25 minutes for it to generate before. By the way, just to answer the question, yes, Perkins Coie does represent Meta. Oh, and on these like content moderation adjacent spaces. Whoa, wild. Yep, they represent Facebook all the time. In litigation, platform enforcement. So they do directly profit. Holy shit. Donor drafter class. But instead of donating to politicians, they donate to the Trust and Safety Professional Association, which tells governments to pass laws that force Meta to hire more Perkins Coie lawyers. Perkins Coie wants more business. They pay the Censorship Professional Association to push laws and regulations that require Meta to hire more Perkins Coie billable hours. Incredible. And yes, they represent U.S. tech companies in regulatory and legal disputes with foreign governments while funding the activist NGOs and trade association groups pushing the regulatory laws. Oh my God. It's a dirty business. All right. I will let you guys know tomorrow, midday, early evening, if I can just stream again tomorrow night. In the meantime, remember, guys, build your Tab Mountain. It's the climb.
Every step I'm taking, every move I make, feel but I gotta keep trying.
For your own personal Tab Mountain.
Just keep pushing on. It's the climb. Sometimes you're gonna have to lose. Ain't no bad.
We are at over 300 pages of stream notes just since July. That's crazy. This is just one doc for just jotting down, hey, I might want to talk about this on stream. Hey, we just found this on stream. We are at over 300 pages in a little over 6 months just on stream notes. Isn't that insane? Well, when you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life. Thank you all for joining me. I will let you know tomorrow whether we're streaming tomorrow night, Tuesday or Wednesday. But I'm hoping it's tomorrow. Let's see how it goes. In the meantime, good night, Godspeed. I will see you on the internet.